Great. So as I said, this is the Introduction to Business and Data Statistics Research. It's not moving forward. Here we go. So we're going to go over some of the library resources, or at least things that we have linked in the library. I want to show you how to get help in the library. This is very much geared towards students who are working on their prospectus. Not that it doesn't have to be anybody, it could be anybody looking for data and statistics, but some of the things I'll be discussing, I point out that things that could be helpful for people who are in the DBA program, PhD management, DIT program, but this could be helpful for anybody beyond that too. Again, we'll be looking at government statistics and then some search tips beyond the library too. So if you have any questions about that, please do let me know. And thank you guys for letting me know you can hear me and see me. That's very helpful. So I'm going to head out of our agenda. Let's head into the library. So like I said, I want to show you how you can contact the library if you have questions. So the first thing I'm going to have you do is look at our Ask a Librarian section. And hopefully many of you have already had the opportunity to email us or chat with us. If you're a doctoral student, perhaps you've had a chance to make an appointment. But I wanted to show you that these three things are an option. You can also leave us a voicemail where you would leave us a message, a detailed message, and then we'll get back to you via email. Chat is available 7 days a week, and the hours are posted here. And once it's live, you'll see a button that says chat is live. You click on it and we're there for you. Just note that those questions that you're going to be asking us it's easier for us to answer 5-minute questions, 10-minute questions. Like if you're going to walk up to somebody and ask a 5-minute question, something that would be easier to answer pretty quickly. Chat's really great for that. If you have a really in-depth research question, that might be better for email. We might even refer you to email if it is in depth. So we want you to get the best kind of instruction possible, and chat can be kind of difficult for that. If you're a doctoral student, you can come in here and make an appointment, select by college. You don't have to just select College of Management Technology if you happen to be in a different program, or if your research goes under another area and you kind of want to see what another subject librarian might have to say about researching there. Please, by all means, feel free to make an appointment with them. But as far as if you happen to be under the College of Management Technology, if you're undergrad or if you're a doctoral student, again, DIT, PhD, and DBA. So CMT, and I'm not going to click through the whole thing, but it'll walk you through the next steps here. We will be switching software. We had to push back our date, but we should be getting new appointment software soon, so that might delay some of our appointments for the next month, I think for December. But if you ever need more help or trying to set up an appointment, you can always email the library or email me directly. Oh, that's a great question. The question was, how quickly do we respond to emails? So our SLA is 24 hours, but it's usually a lot faster than that. But keep in mind, if you email us at midnight, you probably won't get a response until the next morning, just because we don't have people on the desk all night long. But it is 7 days a week. So the only time that it tends to be a little bit slower is term start. That's when we get a lot of emails. So that would be the only time it's a little slower, but other than that, definitely should have a response within 24 hours. So back to the library homepage. I want to show you where upcoming webinars and recorded webinars live. If you go under Get Help, you'll see upcoming webinars and recorded webinars. I'm not going to click on upcoming webinars. Feel free to check that out if you would like. And then if you click on recorded webinars, you can come check out any subject area that you want, including library skills. So these library skills are going to be more general, like developing keywords or choosing a database or something that's a little bit more specific to just the resources as opposed to a subject area. Today's webinar will be under business and management. I'm not going to click into it, but I just want you to know where it lives. So now you know how to contact us and find the recorded webinar. I'm going to dig into our content for today. So there's a couple of resources in the library that I want to point out, and they require a few clicks. So I'm going to go pretty slow from the home page. If anybody needs me to repeat these steps, please let me know in the questions box, okay? So we're going to go to Library Skills, and then Library Skills Guides. And a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be clicking into today is going to be coming from the statistics and data guide that we've created. So I'm going to open that up in a new tab, and I'm actually going to click out of these two so they don't confuse me when we go through all of our content. So I've opened up the statistics and data page. And the other thing I want to point out is one of our topic guides. So if you are in the DBA program, DIT, or PhD management, I think you'll find this very useful. Some of this information might be helpful for people in their master's and undergraduate program too, just depends on what you're looking for. So if you click on topic guides, we're going to scroll down until we get to business and management. And so it's a little confusing because it doesn't say stats or statistics or, data on it, but if you click on the business problem research guide, a lot of the content that we're going to be talking about today is covered here. Specifically, if you're working on a business problem or your prospectus, what to do as far as research, where to start. One of the things that I point out, especially when students are just working out a business problem, is not to get too specific right away. So if you have a business problem that you are trying to tackle, maybe it's something that you deal with at work, like there's turnover in a specific career field, and you might think it's universal, but it's been happening in your company for 10 years, and then you go out and do research, and maybe there's not much literature on it, or there's not data to back up what you assumed was a business problem everywhere. Just keep that in mind when you go out. So make sure that you start with a broad topic. Keep an open mind when you're looking at the literature, because it might, some of the things that you're looking for may or may not exist, and they may not exist in the way you think they will. The biggest trouble that students get into when they're researching, especially for statistics and data, is they will have pre-chosen in their minds that there will be a statistic or data point that backs up their exact research problem or their business problem. So they'll say, it costs X amount of dollars every year that there's a certain percent of turnover in a certain industry. And then, there could be a follow-up statistic that's a percentage. And so when you decide on something like that ahead of time, and then you go and try and find it, that can be like looking for a needle in a haystack. And there's two reasons for that. Searching through the literature or articles, journal articles for something specific like that takes a lot of time. And somebody might not have researched it the way that you have assumed. So you got to keep an open mind when you are reviewing the literature. And the second thing is that the government data that you tend to find is more specific. It's more quantitative than qualitative. You're going to get the what and not the why. So keep that in mind while you're looking through, the literature, and then when you're looking through government resources. Hopefully that's clear. I'm not going to click through this entire guide, but I wanted to show you a lot of the content that we're talking about today can be found in here. I've also included this link in the email follow-up. So whether you registered and attended, or you maybe you have a buddy that's in your class that wasn't able to attend it, but they still registered, everybody will still get a follow-up email again to a link for the recording and then a link to this guide. So you'll be able to refer back to them after the recording is done. So I'm going to head out of here. But if you guys have any questions about this guide, at the end of the webinar, let me know. So for today, we're going to spend a little bit more time on the statistics and data page. We're in the middle of updating a little bit, just because government websites do change sometimes. The URLs change, or they cease to exist. There's a lot of different things that could be going on here. So from here, I'm going to have you guys, well, okay, so I'll explain what's on this front page. So if you're looking for data sets, that would be separate from statistics and data. So we have a couple of suggestions for that. The Center for Research Quality has access to a database called ICPSR. And there's a link here for you. It'll take you to their webpage with ICPSR. And then we do have a couple of other links in here. I think we have Google, is it Google Data Set or Google Data? And if anybody has questions about that, and again, I can discuss it at the end. Since we aren't, specifically talking about data sets today. But if anybody has questions, I can try and refer to it at the end or follow up with you via email. So the next thing I'm going to have you look at is our statistics and data by topic. So this is the page that's going to get a little bit of an overhaul. We're going to update this top search box, but I want to explain what's going on up here. This search box is searching all of the links we have preset here on this page. So if you weren't sure where to look for employee turnover, and maybe you're looking at employee turnover in general, maybe you're looking at healthcare, there could be all different fields. If you click search, you'll get, it looks like we've got about 91 million results, but they're going to be results from from those links that we saw on this page already. It looks like a lot of these are coming from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Looks like we have one from the Small Business Association. So, if you're not sure, maybe you want to dig into the Bureau of Labor Statistics a little bit more, or just click on one of these links to help you find what you're looking for. That top search bar is just there to give you an idea of where to start. So most of the content I'll be talking about today are the links that are on the business, underneath business and management, mostly as a place to start. So we're going to start with the U.S. Census Bureau. And I think I saw a question in there about basically finding statistics outside of the U.S. Most of the links that are in here, we do have, if you scroll to the bottom before I even link into these, are from the US, but we do have some international links. They're not specific to one program or area, but if you do need help finding statistics or data from another country, what I would suggest doing is emailing the library, or if you're a doctoral student, setting up an appointment with me and we can walk through it. So starting with the Census Bureau, one of the things that I like to point out is if you go under Explore Data and then go to Data Tools and Apps, and I'll walk through that one more time. I know that was a lot of clicking. But this basically shows you all the tools that the US Census provides. And I think this is kind of nice because then you can kind of play with and see what they have. And I'm not going to click into all of these. I think I'm just going to do a couple just because we only have so much time and there's a lot of stuff I want to try and get through. I do, of course, have my favorites. I think some of them are a lot easier than other resources that they've used or that they've created. And some of these, I was clicking through them earlier today, and I come back and I check them every couple of months, and some of them are disappearing, some of them are moving over to another platform. So it's good to come here and take a look at them periodically if you're trying to, keep track of something. So one of the things that I wanted to point out that's available under the U.S. Census Bureau, and actually is also linked under business management, is the American Fact Finder. This is by far my favorite resource in as far as the list of tools here. That's not to say that there aren't other tools that would be super helpful for you. I just think this is a great place to start because they've made it I think pretty easy to use. And so here's one of the notifications I saw today. So it looks like once they've gotten the 2020 census underway, they're going to be moving this platform over to the data census gov page, and maybe it's going to have a new name. Maybe they're going to discontinue it completely. I don't think that this is super straightforward, but there will be an archive system for it. But for right now, it's still available to you, but just keep in mind that it might disappear here in the next year. So one of the things I like to show students is the guided search. So you can come in here and figure out, well, maybe I'm looking at demographics, maybe I'm looking at housing. I think a lot of people are looking at business and industries, or you can come in here and look for data sets too. Again, I'm not going to focus on data sets, but I just want to point out for anybody who might be interested. We're going to start with businesses or industries. All right. So there's a couple different ways that you can do this. I mean, you can come in here and look at a specific business, or you can do it by employment or establishments and firms. So let's do, sometimes I come in here and click one of these and I get burnt. So we're gonna do establishments with payroll. And I hope that's all of them, right? All right, so the next thing you can do is come down here and choose a geographic area. I'm just gonna say United States. I have to actually click on it. There we go. And I might have too much content here already, but we'll keep going. And then we can narrow it down by industry code. And so one of the things that I point out while I'm in here, and we'll come back to it too, is you'll see the NAICS code type listed under code here. And I always have to go back and so it's North American Industry Classification System. It's the way that the US government has indexed the different industries to keep track of them. So if you had a specific industry you wanted to search by, you could certainly do that. You could come in here and just sift through them. Let's see if we can find one. Let's do nuclear electric power generation. That's kind of cool. Let's see what we get. Great, so we have 79 tables that match our request so far, which is quite a bit. So we'll just say yes, keep going. We could come in here and look at county business patterns, look at legal form of organization, employee size class. Depending on what you choose and what you're narrowing down, you'll have a lot of different tables to choose from or very limited tables to choose from. So I'm going to click on this one. And then it'll come in here and create a table for you, which you can review if you want to. Some of them you should be able to download. You could print it. You can modify your table. You can change the date range if you want to. Some of them, some of these might have data from 2018. Some of them might not have data that's newer than 2010. It just depends on when the last time the government collected information on that particular topic. But like I was saying earlier, there's just a lot of what and not so much why in here, which is fine. But I just wanted to show you that this can be a really helpful tool if you wanted to try to see what you could find through the US Census. So I'm gonna start over again and just show you the advanced search. I'm not gonna run this same search again, but just know that it's very, very similar. It has all of our, since we already ran a search, it has all the limiters I put in here, but you could easily clear these out and then start over if you wanted to focus on industry code or topics, and it kind of gives you an idea of what falls underneath each one of these. And you know what, now that we have this NAICS code open, I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. I think it'll help clarify it. So back on that statistics and data page in the library, if you open up the North American Industry Classification System page, what it does is this page gives you an overview of what it is. So sometimes I've had students come over and ask me, these are some of the questions that students have asked me, like they want to look up industry information for salons. So if you wanted to see how the government has classified a salon, here are the different ways that they've done it. So is it salon construction? That's probably not quite so much what we're looking for, but it may be a beauty salon or a facial salon or nail salon, but you'll notice that some of them stay under the same NAICS code. Well, they start to change when maybe this one's because it's, hair and makeup analysis, nails turns to 13. So if you were looking for that specific NAICS code, I'm going to copy and paste it. Whoops. There we go. There we go. So you could come in here and search by that specific NAICS code if you wanted to, add it. and then keep running your search here. But I just wanted to show you that, you can certainly do that by starting with just the NAICS code. You don't have to do the industry, scroll through and figure out what you want. You can just go to the NAICS page, figure out what NAICS code you want to use, and then search that way. And actually, you can use the NAICS codes in the databases to help you find content too, although it is a little bit it's a little bit more limited in there. I don't know if I'm going to run through that today. I might talk about that a little bit more in next week's webinar. I will be talking about company and industry profiles and reports that are available in the library, and you can definitely use the NAICS codes in those too. So if anybody has questions about NAICS codes, please let me know. But start broad. Don't put in a really long string here. Just give it 1 or 2 words to start with. Otherwise, you're gonna hit a wall. So that's American Fact Finder, and that's the NAICS codes. Hopefully that was clear. I'm gonna scroll through a couple more in here. There's also the Census Business Builder, and I was kind of playing with this a little bit earlier today. So if you're looking at small businesses, or if you want to look at regional content, these kind of overlap a little bit, so I'll open up both of them. And hopefully that doesn't kill my browser. Great. So it kind of gives you a place to start, or again, you see that it gives you that option for NAICS code. So we could paste in that NAICS code. There we go. Great, and then I live in Minnesota, so I'm gonna pick on Minneapolis and search for that. And I can create a report, or I can go to a map. I think they're both pretty cool, but I'm gonna click on Create Report. So we're creating a report about beauty salons in downtown Minneapolis. And then it gives you some information about that, your potential customers, socioeconomic standards of that particular zip code, housing, and then the business summary for that area. So you can do it that way. I'm not going to click on the map because the next one gives you that option, I think. So the next one we're going to go to is that regional area. Again, I'm going to pick on downtown Minneapolis. And then you'll see let me zoom out a little bit. It'll show you which zip code you have highlighted. That's downtown Minneapolis in Minnesota. That's the United States. If you're from outside of the country. So if you wanted to figure out based on what the map is, like if you wanted to change this to this small zip code to see what's going on there as far as businesses, you certainly could. You have the option of doing different kinds of population. Some of them pop up, some of them don't. I was playing with it a little bit earlier. You can look at all employer establishments and click that, narrow that down. And then if you wanted to narrow it down by filter, add a new filter, maybe workforce or some other kind of limiter to help you find something that might be relevant to what you're looking for. Sure. All right. Whoops, didn't mean to scroll quite so fast. All right. But it'll keep that information for you on here. So it'll give you the zip code, how many employers are in that zip code. I'm assuming you can probably do this by establishment type, but I haven't played with it that much. Here we go. So if we wanted to do, let's do healthcare, or it's not gonna let me do that, construction. There we go. So if we wanted to, I think, we did accommodations and food services. So there's 84 that are underneath that with the other information that we've entered in here. So you can play with it and it'll give you kind of that dashboard information and still highlight that area. So both of these are kind of cool if anybody's interested in playing with them. I know sometimes when you're focusing on small business research, this can be useful too, because you can kind of figure out, okay, well, I'm going to be in this metro area and I want to do research on this particular industry, and kind of figure out how many are out there, how many are close next or by you. And then there's other things that you can look up too. If you want to learn more about that, I suggest going to next week's webinar. Again, I think it's company and industry reports or something like that. But you can find that under upcoming webinars. All right, so we're going to go back to Sorry for all the clicks out of there. I just don't want to get stuck in a numerous amount of tabs here. So I'm kind of going to scroll through all of them just to give you an idea of what you can click into. I've tried doing Data Ferret. It looks like it has some pretty cool content, but I have, because this is a work computer, I have admin things that I need to work out. But if you're interested, I'd say check it out. You could look at the Fred economic data. I haven't played with this a lot, but it has a lot of information that you can sift through, and you can do it by category. Again, I'm not going to do that. I just want to show you what some of these look like. I think it's nice to have somebody else point out what's in here so it's not as overwhelming. So I'm going to head to the next page here. And I think there was one more thing I wanted to show you guys before I flip to the next page, and I think it was industry snapshots. Ooh, okay, maybe not. I think this one's moving away. I think I used to just demo this one, but it looks like they might be moving away from this particular page. So I'm going to click out of that. But just know that you have a lot of different resources that you can start with here. All right. So those are all the data tools apps in the Census Bureau. Go check them out, see what you can find that's useful to you. Just because I want to show you some other resources that are in the library, I'm not going to spend too much more time in here, but it is a great, great resource that's available to you. Business Bureau of Labor Statistics is helpful. If you're looking at employee turnover, I'm going to show you where the data tools are there. So if you go under data tools, you can do series reports or multi-screen, but I would just click on it in general just so you can see what you can find. And they have them here by subject area. So if you wanted to look at unemployment, you could come here and look at local area unemployment statistics, click on Data Finder, and choose an area that you're interested in, view data. And it'll probably give you, some other things you'll need to pick out to narrow down your results, update, and then it'll show you that information. And then it's also something you can download as a spreadsheet or a CSV file. So those data tools are pretty cool. If you have any questions about them, you can email the library or you can email me directly. That's fine too. I think some of the other librarians might just forward you or they might escalate your question to me too. So Bureau of Labor Statistics is great for that. If you're looking at career information, labor information, employment information, and a couple of other things here too. So Bureau of Labor Statistics, probably many of you have already been here, so I won't spend too much time there. Small Business Administration, again, some of their content looking for data and statistics is a little bit buried. So if anybody needs help locating some of the content that they have, make an appointment with me or, email the library and we can talk it out. One of the other things that I like to point out, and this isn't always the most straightforward. So business dynamic statistics, this is available through the US Census again, but so the tricky thing about this is it doesn't give you any of the whys. So this is really great for if you want information about the number of firms by sector or how many currently exist and how many have closed or something like that. So we're going to click on BDS tables and then we'll do the most recent, which is 2016. So it's basically telling you what's available in here. You can search or you can click by any of these if you want to. Let's do size and see what we get here. It'll come out as a spreadsheet because that's what I've chosen. Great. So this is US entirely, and it's basically saying, here's the size of the establishment, here's how many firms, and then, how many exit rates, what was the entry rate, exit rate, and then they'll have, how many jobs were created. And then sometimes, I think if you look at the other ones, I think it's the smaller ones, if you're looking under this one, firm age, it'll tell you if the business died, but it doesn't tell you why it died. It just gives you how many closed. So that can be kind of tricky figuring out, well, how many actually opened that year, and of that, particular year, how many closed by the end of that year. It can be really tricky. But some of that information might be able to be, you might be able to find that in here. So, great. Let me just check out the questions box. Okay, some of these I think I might have to just email you guys directly because they're kind of specific. Oh, excellent. Okay. So one of the other things that I want to point out, and I wonder if this is, there we go. Okay, so at the bottom of this page, we actually have, and that's, I just clicked on that link, and basically what it did is it popped me all the way down to the bottom of the data and statistics page in the library. So we also have a database called Sage Stats, and I love this database. What it's done, what Sage has done, has basically compiled a lot of the information that we found through the US Census Bureau and made it easier to look at, essentially. So you can look at this by topic or location. I generally suggest students, try topic, see what you can find. We'll do employment and labor. If you wanted to narrow this down, again, by subtopics, if you're looking at healthcare, maybe hospital personnel. And then, you could look at this by state. You could look at it by the table that they have available, or chart. Has this gone up over? And this looks like it's pretty old. So we could probably change the date range too, but I'm not going to mess with it too much right now. The nice thing about this too is it'll always tell you what the source was. So it should tell you, okay, well, it came from the AHA hospital statistics, and that way you know where you're getting that data from. So if you want to make sure that it's coming from a reputable source, or if it's coming from a government source, Sage Stats always lets you know where it's coming from, which is great. You'll notice a lot of these do come from, they come from the US Census Bureau, they come from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Yeah, Bureau of Labor Statistics. As I live and breathe, it is there. So, you could come in here and change whatever you want, hover over a specific state. Some of them you might be able to do just, the entire US, but I love how they've done this. It's just, I think it's really, really easy to look at. You can do comparisons. You can look at related content. And again, it'll show you the source, and it should link you back to where they found that content. So Sage Stats is great. Looks like another question popped up. Oh, yeah, questions about military. So if you wanted to look at defense, some of this might be military personnel, but you might also be able to find military spending or defense spending. And that's something that we can come back to. I think when I'm looking at in the databases, we might be able to use that as an example. But we're already 35 minutes in, and I want to make sure I get to a couple of other things. So those are some of the links I wanted to show you through the US government. Here's Sage Stats. So I think the next few things that we're going to do, I want to show you a demo search in one of our databases to show you how I would look for data and statistics while I'm looking through the literature. I want to show you how you can do it in Google Scholar. And then I want to show you a shortcut search in Google too. So I'm going to head to the library homepage. And then we have some of our databases and information organized by program just to make it easier. If you want to go into the databases A to Z and see what we have, that's totally fine. I'm just going to go into business and management as part of this demo. If you're in IT programs, you can certainly go into the IT databases. But for this example, I'm going to click on business and management databases. Here are some of the databases we just suggest students start with. I'm going to click on Business Source Complete. Great. All right, so I'm going to pick on my dear friend employee turnover. So looking for data and statistics can be tricky, and I'll show you why in a moment. But one of the things I'm going to make you sure you guys do is click on peer-reviewed scholarly journals. If you're a doctoral student, make sure you uncheck full text. That's going to show you everything that's in the database, even if we don't have a subscription to it. And that's going to help you find more content. So if I was looking for the cost of employee turnover, you can't type in a $sign. You're not going to put in a numeric value. The easiest way to do this is to say, dollars or cost or price, something along that lines, because that's how the author is going to have described it. So I put in an asterisk at the end of dollar. That's going to tell the database to search for any ending of that word, so dollar, dollars. And then I've put an or between all of these terms because I'm telling the database either one of these or any of these chosen terms is fine. So I've just broken it apart by subtopic. So turnover in general, and then, terms that might describe what I'm looking for associated with employee turnover. Great. So we have about 715. They date back about 100 years. I doubt anyone really wants an article from 1919. Maybe you do. I doubt it, but we can change that to 2016. Great. So now we have about 69 results. I'm going to click on the title here. So I want to point out why searching for data and statistics in the articles themselves can be kind of tricky. It's because most of the information that a lot of these results are hitting is the abstract information. So the title, the authors, the subject terms, and most importantly, the abstract itself. So this is what the author has provided the publisher that's also provided to the database. And that's what the databases are searching through. Now, if the article happens to be HTML full text or a searchable PDF, you might get lucky and it'll find more content for you in your results. But a lot of times it's hitting this abstract information. So that's why we don't bother with the $sign. You wouldn't use a British pound or any other kind of currency symbol, just because the databases they don't know what to do with that. You might be able to get away with that a little bit in a Google search, or I know I'm not even sure you can get away with that in a Google Scholar search. But generally what I tell students is come in here, search with a phrase or term that you think the author might be using to describe that data or statistic that you're hoping to find. So from here, I'm going to click on the HTML full text. And of course, you can scan through this. I think a lot of times you're going to find the information you're looking for either in the introduction. And be careful when you're looking at the introduction or the lit review that you aren't citing a secondary source and that the source that they're citing is in fact peer-reviewed. I think students get into trouble with that sometimes. And one of the other places to look is at their conclusion. And let's just scroll down here. Great. So if you wanted to come down here and sift through what they found, then you'd be more likely to find something that you could cite for your problem statement. But I think, like I said before, you'll find it, as far as their conclusion or their discussion or the results, or in their introduction section as giving an overview of what their research is. So that's one of the strategies I would use in the databases, but you'll notice if I rerun this search, without the keywords that I used. So we're down to 69 articles with those terms I added. If we didn't have them, we'd have 796. So that doesn't mean that the 700 articles in here aren't talking about cost or price or dollars or somehow talking about turnover and the effects of the turnover on that company. It's just that they didn't necessarily talk about cost, price, or dollars. So I mean, that's why I was saying earlier, try and keep an open mind while you're looking through these articles and keep an eye out for data and statistics that already exist, because trying to narrow it down can be a roadblock. But I wanted to show you how you can do it and how to get around it too. So one of the other things I wanted to point out while I'm in the database is I told you that you could search by NAICS code if you wanted to. So there's a couple different ways to do it. I'm going to go back to the advanced search. I can't remember, there it is. You can either enter the NAICS code here, Looks like I already had one from previous search that's pre-populated. You can search for it there, or you could put it in the search field and change this drop down to NAICS code and search by that particular topic. So maybe I'll just do a quick one since we have a little bit of time. I don't think I've totally killed my timing today, which is great. Sometimes I get bumped up right to the end, and I hate that. I want you guys to get all of the answers, all of the questions or answers to your questions. So I'm going to borrow that Salon NAICS code again. Go back in here and put that code into the search field. Click peer reviewed, uncheck full text. Maybe we can change our date range to 2015 and hit search. And we've got 21 that are associated with that NAICS code, which is great. Gives us a place to start. So of course, you can use that to your advantage of however you'd like. So the next thing I want to point out is we had those 796 results for employee turnover and then narrowed it down with cost, price, and dollars, and that narrowed us down by a lot, I think by like 700 results. So something I point out is that you can try that search again in Google Scholar. I'll try, and I know some people might have questions about Google Scholar if you haven't attended my other webinars, or if you haven't gone to residency as a doctoral student. So I'm gonna do that search again. Okay, and actually I'm gonna put these terms in quotation marks just because I want this to be a little bit more specific. What this is going to do is it's gonna tell Google Scholar to search that exact phrase. Don't break it apart, don't put it in a different order. I just don't want us to get totally overwhelmed by results. So we're at about 18,000. That's a lot more than 700. That's one of the pros and cons of Google Scholar, is it can overwhelm you pretty quickly. Next thing we could do is narrow down the search, or the search date. We're down to 17,000. Well, maybe we want 2018. We're down to about 9,400 now. To those of you who have not used Google Scholar, there is no way to limit to peer review in here. So if you do want to use something in Google Scholar, you'll have to verify that it is peer reviewed. If anybody wants me to go over that, please do put it in the questions box. But I want to point out that you can access some of these resources through the Walden Library. So this article listed here, you'll see that I have a Find at Walden link to the right-hand side. I click on that. What it's going to do is it's going to tell me, hey, this database has access to this particular journal from the date range available here, 1995 to present. So we have access. I'm going to click on it. Great. And there's the full text. I'll walk through how to connect the two, how to connect Google Scholar to the Walden Library. If you click on the 3 horizontal logo bars next to Google Scholar, you'll see a drop down, and settings might be at the bottom or it might be at the top depending on how big your browser is or what you're using. Click on settings. Library links. And then you'll type in Walden and hit search. And then you'll see Walden University Library Find at Walden pop up. You're going to make sure that you have it checkmarked. If you're inside the United States, you'll see Open WorldCat. Leave it checkmarked. It's there to just help you find more content. If you're outside the United States, you might not see it, or you might see a different resource. Google's just trying to help you find more stuff. So just leave them checkmarked and hit save. And then you should be able to access those articles through Find at Walden on the right-hand side. For the articles that you can't, there are no links here on the right-hand side, no open source links. So when you see these PDFs, or sometimes they'll be HTMLs, those are freely available on the web, not provided by Walden. I always joke that, they may or may not be legal. I usually click on them. It's not usually an issue, but just know that it's in your hands whether or not you want to click on them. For the ones that don't have links, what I suggest doing is just grabbing the citation And if you want to try and get access to it, emailing the library the citation, and we'll try and find the full text for you. All right. So there's a good question in here, and I want to make sure I get to it. So how do you cite sources from the occupational handbook? So any questions about citation, whether it be an occupational handbook or a book chapter or a website or a PowerPoint from a website, you're going to reach out to the Writing Center. They are the APA experts, and they are awesome. So you'll reach out to them directly. They have a couple of different ways you can do chat with them, you can email them. And they're super. So just going to do a little plug for the Writing Center for any APA questions you might have. So if you feel like you're hitting a wall in the databases as far as narrowing it down by a data or statistic that you're looking for, you can certainly use Google Scholar and see if there's more out there. So that would be my next suggestion. The other things I do is sometimes I'll see, well, maybe I didn't use everything I could think of. Like maybe there are websites I don't know about, government websites I don't know about that might have that information. So I'm going to copy and paste that and put it in the center here. Oh, of course not. All right, so I know that's probably pretty small, but basically what I've done is I've done employee turnover or labor turnover and site:.gov. And so what this does, this site:.gov, is it's going to search any government domain website. So I'm going to hit search. There, at least now you can see it a little bit better, and it's not in my URL bar here. What it's going to do is it's going to kick back a bunch of results from government websites. So we've got BLS because that's a very popular topic on their website, but you're going to get state information. You're going to get, you know, other random government websites that maybe you hadn't thought of. Here's SBA, you know, other things that might be of interest to you. So if you were looking for maybe through a specific county, you could do that county. So let me pick on, we could look at Texas specifically if we wanted to, since they're in my results list here, Texas. And we could look through everything that the, you know, that texas.gov has to offer as far as employee turnover or labor turnover. Now, of course, you could do that with other content as well. So one of the questions I think earlier was in the Caribbean. And I had, so the, I'm trying to remember how we would do this. So let's just do a quick search here. It would help if I spelled it right too, right? Okay, so the next thing you could do is you could try and find, here we go. So they have one here for Antigua, Barbuda. So if you found another government domain, so if it happens to be this, I'm assuming is probably for Antigua. If you wanted to search for it in Antigua, you could just change the domain name. So that gave me a pretty limited search, but if you just wanted to see what kind of sites are available for government through Antigua, oh, looks like I might have gotten the wrong one. That's fine. But it is an example of how you could limit that search if you wanted to, especially internationally. I can't remember if it's .uk. Yeah, okay, so, and I think these are not right. I think it's UK. I'd have to go back. There's, actually, let's do a Wikipedia search. That's one of the only other times you'll see me do a Wikipedia search is government. I should have pulled this up. There we go. Great. So you should have a list here of all of the different countries in the world and then their domain names. I don't think this is going to include the government domains, but it does give you an idea of how you might be able to limit them down. And you could probably run a search for that, I bet, too. So, and it does give you some information about what, you know, what those top level domains mean. That's why I'm focusing on gov, is because you're going to more than likely want to focus on government statistics. One of the things that I want to point out when you are looking at government statistics is that sometimes you'll go in and you'll find a report available through some government website, whether it be federal or state or county, and they might have pulled something very specific and it's a great statistic. Just make sure it's something that they actually provided, that they actually did the research, because a lot of times they'll go pull proprietary report information from Gallup or Gartner's or some pretty popular proprietary report or marketing report, and they're just doing that because they don't have to pay for it, or they don't have to pay to do the research themselves or take the time to do the research themselves. So just make sure while you're looking at government information that it's their data and they're not pulling it from somebody else. So I've got about 8 minutes left, and I'm just going to scroll through some of these questions to see if there's anything I can go over. Great. Okay, I don't see anything super specific that I could go over as part of the webinar. If I didn't answer your question in the webinar, I will follow up with you via email to answer your question. And I'm going to take a quick lunch break after the webinar, but after that you should see an email from me by the end of the day. I'll give you guys another minute to type in any other questions you might have. Hopefully, it's something I can answer right now. If not, I will again follow up with you one-on-one. So I'm not seeing anything popping up, which is fine. I know you guys have busy lives. Thank you so much for attending today. Again, you should see a recording in your inbox or your email inbox in the next 24 hours. If you have any follow-up questions from this webinar, email the library or email me directly. That's totally fine. I appreciate you being here, and hopefully I see you in future webinars, and hopefully you reach out to the library too. So thanks again for attending today, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.